doing business with respect and dignity. We've seen that, and we've seen how your Prime Minister and your government has stood by countries and for taking the moral high ground for what is right and what is moral. But can Canada ever fall under American pressure and not do business with India? Because India has taken a real hit when it comes to President Trump and his policies. And should he be unhappy with the forward movement or momentum that he sees between India and Canada? He's already threatened Europe. Would you fall under that pressure?
Canada honors its trade agreements.
Geopolitics has completely changed in the past year or so, particularly after Trump has come to power. We've seen more engagement of Canada, not just with India, but with China as well. As much as the West wanted to move away from China, now we're looking at more engagement with China, with India, between Canada and European countries that have always existed. But is this Canada hedging away from the United States of America? Or would you call it diversification or really hedging away?
So I would, the way I would, I always think about how do I explain this to my constituents. And many of my constituents, particularly many of my Canadian constituents are entrepreneurs and business people. And so the way I describe it is, hey, if you were a small business owner, would you want to have one customer? Would you want to sell all of your product to one customer? Or would it be a smart idea to have a few more customers to diversify your exposure? I think we know the answer. And I would say the same, India is probably further along in this. If you're a small business owner, do you want to source all of your supplies from one supplier? Or would you like to diversify? When you put it that way, I think everyone gets it. That's what India is doing today. That's what Canada is doing today. That's good for India. That's good for Canada. I think we have a lot we can do together, and I think Canada's success will go through India.
Is there a discussion globally with countries that you meet where this unilateral decision of using or weaponizing tariffs is something that you can counter by coming together? Is there a multilateral bloc that countries are thinking of to counter the tariff coercion that we see?
Look, this move away from multilateralism and free trade towards more mercantile, it's new. It's really only happened in the last year. One country has chosen to lead that approach, and I think everyone's figuring it out. I think our Prime Minister has articulated how that is manifesting itself in the world. He's proposed a solution. I would say the conversations that I've been having, people are relatively receptive to his perspective. I think the reception he got in Davos is an indication of how the rest of the world thinks about it.
In terms of volatility, I know we're running out of time, but we need to get this through as well to our viewers as to how Canada is looking at and monitoring the situation. Volatility when it comes to energy markets, given the kind of regional instability that we're seeing, the threats of an attack that the United States of America, President Trump is talking about when it comes to Iran. How are you looking at the Strait of Hormuz? Because that is critical when it comes to energy supplies. Most of fuel goes through the Strait of Hormuz. So your reading on America's decision to maybe attack Iran, and how will that impact energy security?
We don't control what America does. Clearly, a significant amount of the world's energy goes through that region. The reality is Canada does not source any of its energy from that region. What I can say is if countries are worried about that, Canada represents a really attractive alternative to diversify away. We will be a stable supplier. And I think we, given that we can export off our west coast, it's a direct line to India.
And a secure one at that.
And a secure one at that, yes.
Okay. So looking forward to that, but again, there are so many aspects that I'd like to ask you on, but we're really running out of time. There's one important aspect when it comes to India, Canada, and how you're viewing the changing geopolitics, but particularly for Canada. If I could ask you this, because it's very close to home. President Trump, again, has looked at Canada, calls it the 51st state of the United States of America. Mm-hmm. It's not just about coercion on tariffs and how he uses tariffs as a weapon. It's also how America, unlike ever in the past, has become imperialistic in the way it's looking at land and territory, whether it's Canada or Greenland for that matter, Minister.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to speak about what the U.S. is doing. What I can say is Canada believes, as was laid out in the UN Charter, that no one can change borders by force. We believe in the sovereignty of countries. It's a position our Prime Minister has spoken clearly on. And Canada will continue to stand for that.
On that note, Minister Hodgson, hoping that India-Canada ties only grow and hoping that all the aspects that you've covered in your visit fructify and is taken forward by the leadership. On that note, thank you so much for joining us here on India Today Global.
Thank you very much for having me.